key to being in any storm on a boat, and this is any storm, this is the biggest thing. Always remain calm. You may have to yell, and that's okay. You may have to sound a little aggressive, but always maintain calm. You will feel a sense of panic, and that is normal. But you can't give in to that, or you'll start making really stupid decisions. Do not panic in a storm. And I know it's easier said than done, but that is the main thing. Always remain calm.
Thor here. Storms in Lake Powell can be a very scary event, and for most, it is inevitable that you will get caught in one if you spend enough time at Lake Powell. Often storms can be survived with little to no incident, but on occasion there can be devastation. More often than not, the reason turns up operator error, and to that extent, I am hoping this video might prevent some of that in the future. Storms in Lake Powell can produce sustained winds exceeding 120 miles per hour and can last for hours at a time. However, the typical storm in Lake Powell produces winds in excess of 50 to 100 miles per hour and generally only lasts for anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours. Generally, this is the result of the numerous microbursts that roll across this land, and they can happen at any point in time. In my experience, you have about 8 minutes to react from the moment you notice a storm is coming in Lake Powell, so it is important to always have a plan to keep the boat in a ready state for such an event. Rather on the water or beach, it is important to try and avoid being in exposed areas during a storm or in general. Many houseboats and regular boats sink while beached because they are facing an open bay. Bear that in mind next time you land a vessel. Large waves can develop in larger open bays and swamp the back of vessels or cause vessels to bottom out and smash their props into the holes, causing them to sink. It is important if you are near land to immediately abandon your vessel if this happens, as sinking vessels often become an electrocution hazard. Bear that in mind during a next storm. You should shut off all auxiliary power. If you are caught navigating during a storm, avoid the main channel. Immediately take shelter in any cove or smaller canyon that you can. The main channel acts as an amplifier for wind and waves. Since the walls are so steep, the waves bounce off of them and combine with other waves, creating massive waves that are not normal for lake conditions. I have heard of 8-foot rollers and 10-foot waves in the main channel during the storms. Biggest waves I've personally seen in the main channel is 6-foot roller and 4-foot chop. These conditions will easily sink houseboats and small watercraft. Bear in mind there is not much a houseboat can do other than batten the hatches. If you are in a houseboat during a situation like this, make sure to close all the doors and windows to keep the water out and turn on the bilge pumps. If you have a crash pump, I would strongly recommend you use it. If you don't have one, I would strongly recommend you get one. If you are in a smaller boat or a cruiser, trim the boat's bow up and plow through the water in addition to closing all the doors, hatches, and windows. Try to ride the backside of a wave if possible until you see an opening to get out of the main channel. Cruisers often make the mistake of going too fast and end up stuffing the bow or breaking the boat, such as cracking the hull from launching the boat or breaking the drivetrain. Smaller boats have the same issues, except they often end up flipping the boat because the wind will catch them. This is especially prevalent in pontoon boats. Smaller vessels with low freeboard, such as jet boats and fishing boats, needs to be extra careful and keep the bow up as much as possible to avoid getting swamped.
If you're in a storm, it's a good idea, especially if you feel that things could go bad real quick. Wear a life jacket. Put it on your family. There's a lot of potential in this storm, so I decided to put mine on.
Crew and passengers often complicate matters. As a captain, you will need to take charge. Weight distribution can make a huge difference in how a boat handles waves and wind. Make all of your passengers move to the lower decks of the boat and away from the front. Keeping weight central and low will increase the stability of the boat. If the conditions are bad enough, it is completely acceptable to make passengers and crews sit on the floor in the middle of the boat. It never hurts to overestimate a storm. Only experienced captains with able smaller vessels should approach a marina during a storm. Larger vessels like cruisers and especially houseboats need to avoid docking in marinas during a storm. The vessels, to put it simply, cannot maneuver sufficiently in the higher winds and often smash into other boats, causing significant damage and unsafe conditions. If for some reason passengers had to abandon a sinking watercraft during a storm in a marina, they will be met with numerous pinching and crushing hazards, bad access to getting out of the water, and as if all of that wasn't bad enough, electrocution hazards. For reference, people have died in Lake Powell from electrocution in the marinas. Also, it is noteworthy to mention that the increased anxiety of docking a boat in a marina during a storm causes even the most experienced captains to panic. In general, I suggest avoiding marinas if possible during a storm.
So a great thing to do in a storm is to loiter in a calm area. So right now, I am loitering kind of near Wahweap Marina. There's a huge bay. And so I'm just gonna sit here and loiter until this storm goes away. It's as simple as that. I've got the power to overcome the wind and there's no big waves here, so it makes a lot of sense.
If for some reason loitering in a calmer bay or area is not possible and you need to shut off the engine, such as it is overheating or you're going to run out of fuel, there are some alternatives to taking a vessel into a marina. Docking at a potty dock, fuel dock, or courtesy dock is a great way to weather the storm. And it is legal if your boat is in distress. You can also grab onto a mooring ball, which is the ball that you see here. Avoid grabbing onto marker buoys as they are not often anchored sufficiently enough to handle a boat, and some are equipped with spring winches inside so they will literally give under load. Another option is grabbing onto a tire barricade. These barricades are well anchored and can easily accommodate a houseboat or larger vessel in an emergency situation. It is also legal to tie off to them if you deem your vessel to be in an emergency situation. Be very careful when attempting to put a line on them. An option often overlooked is to throw an anchor with a line attached through one of the tires and attempt to snag onto it. You need to be extra careful as the tire barricades are a significant crushing hazard. Some alternative options to do during a storm is to beach the vessel. If you know a good landing that is well sheltered and have a vessel with enough power, beaching the vessel and using the engines to hold it on the beach is a decent option. Many people perform this, and when I go out, I often know what beach I would use for the place I am at. Knowing the geography can be very helpful. If it is not too dangerous, you can also throw out some anchors or tie off to natural structures and secure the vessel to the beach during a storm. Something important I want to say is if you are on the beach during a storm, for better or for worse, do not attempt to make way during a storm. Stay there. The boat may not survive, but it is likely you will. Quite often houseboats end up sideways on the beach and the entire crew survives because they abandoned the boat and went to land. If for some reason the boat gets blown off the beach, retrieve all the anchor lines as fast as possible and either loiter in the calm area until the storm is gone or run the boat back up onto the beach and use the engines to hold it there. A common practice I do with my vessel when she is beached during a storm is I power on the engine and use it in addition to my anchors to hold the vessel on the beach. It is better to be stuck than to lose the landing. The last thing I will say is kind of a controversial thing, and some will either agree with me or not, but loading your vessel onto a trailer during a storm is a very good option, at least in my opinion. You will need to have help and know how to power load. Obviously, if there is a significant stern wind and the conditions are very bad, it is not an option at all. However, if there's a headwind or side wind, the waves are not too big, and the captain has enough experience landing on the trailer, it is a great option. For people out there that refuse to power load for whatever reason, do not attempt this. You will have a disastrous outcome. I should also note that I do not know if this works with bunk trailers, but it works very well with roller trailers. I hope this information is helpful. If you know any tips or tricks to dealing with storms, please let me know in the comment section. I'd be happy to see what you have to say.
So I wanted to make one note at the end of this video. Some people might have noticed that I had my camera out and was busy recording myself during the middle of a storm. And that's probably not the smartest thing to do. I can assure you it's not. However, I have a lot of experience in Lake Powell storms. They're nothing new to me. And what I will say is this: I was at the very tail end of this storm. You can see it might be coming back towards me. So that being the case, I wasn't really worried about having any issues. That's why I was able to pull out my camera and do these things. But when things get bad, I will not run my camera. That's why you never see videos of me loading and unloading my vessel. I do not run my camera when those things are happening because I have to focus on the task at hand. So understand, you probably shouldn't run a camera if you're in the middle of a storm, and do other things that are fun or whatever you want to consider them. Focus on the task at hand and staying safe, and always remember staying calm is the biggest thing. So I just wanted to put that out there. So without taking any more of your time, this is Thor, signing out.